Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Zubair bin Ghani from ED 248-4A. Today, I would like to tell you about scientific key concept. For this point, I have chosen topic from textbook Science Form 4 in secondary school. The chapter that I refer is Chapter 3, which is Technique of Measuring the Parameters of Body Health. So, how can we identify the key concept? The main idea in the question is usually the key concept. According to the question is a good technique to find the key concept. Most of the question taught with an information of argument that we can consider agree or disagree with the basis of our reading. Now, we move to the next slide, which is question. I have chosen to answer 5 questions that maybe will be asked. The first question is, the content aligned with the curriculum aims and objective in curriculum guide. The second is, how about the accuracy, clarity and development of the concept? The third is there any inclusion of suggested reference to facilitate consolidation and self-directed learning? Next is, how will the development of cognitive skill of all levels, especially high-order thinking skills, which is HOTS? And the last is, how will the concept foster positive values and attitude? Okay, now we go through with the first question, which is it the content aligned with the curriculum aims and objective in the curriculum guide? As all of you can see on the left side, I have attached information from the SKP, which is Curriculum Standard Document and Assessment, and on the right side, I have attached page from textbook Science Form 4. Let's look at standard content on the left side. It states that subtopic 3.1 is body temperature. We can see that the subtopic in textbook have followed the guide from the SKP. Furthermore, in the suggested activity column states that 4 main thermometer, which is clinical thermometer, laboratory thermometer, rectal thermometer and infrared thermometer. This also have been followed the SKP by science textbook. Next, we go through to the next subpoint in the DSKP. For the standard content 3.2 in DSKP state that pulse rate. It shown that the subtopic in DSKP parallel with the subtopic in science textbook. The standard curriculum in 3.2.1 state students should be able to identify pulse point at the body. In the science textbooks also show the figure of pulse point that we can find at our body. Students also need to carry out the experiment how to identify the pulse point on our body. Now, we move to the subpoint 3.3, which is blood pressure. In the standard content of the SKP state 3.3 equal to blood pressure, and it also same subtopic with the textbooks. For the standard curriculum 3.3.1, students able to identify the device that can measure, record and interpret data of the blood pressure. It follows with the textbook that showed it about the figure of device that can measure and record the data of blood pressure. The last subtopic is 3.4. For this point is about body mass index, which is said BMI. In the science textbooks shows that the same subtopic with the standard content of the SKP. The standard curriculum suggested that students should be able to calculate and determine the body mass index by self. So, in the science textbook has attached the picture of formula how to calculate body mass index, which is body mass divided by height power of 2. As a simple conclusion, the content from 3.1 until 3.4 in the textbooks are aligned with the standard curriculum aims and objective of the SKP that have been set by the Ministry of Education. For extra information, in our curriculum, we use two text types of textbooks, which is one in Bahasa Malaysia language and others is in English language. Even though the language is different, but the content is still same and similar with the SKP needed. Next, we go to the question, which is how about the accuracy, clarity and development of the concept. It has been divided into three key points, which is accuracy, clarity and development. First, accuracy. At each key point, I have stated that note from the SKP and the textbooks example. Let's look accuracy. In the SKP suggests introducing the right technique to use thermometer to measure body temperature. The SKP suggested 4 types of thermometer to measure the body temperature. There is clinical thermometer, rectal thermometer, laboratory thermometer, and infrared thermometer. In the textbook also shown same the 4 types of thermometer to measure the temperature that have been suggested by the SKP. In addition, we move to next key point, which is clarity. In the SKP state that students should be able to identify the pulse point on the body. If you can see in the textbooks under the clarity, it shows the picture of body which the pulse point that we can find. So it has high clarity because it has followed the SKP given by the minister. Last, the point is development of the textbooks. This textbook introduced the easy part for students to capture, which is picture. After that, the identification such as the pulse point at the body and followed by the calculation. So, as we can see, it has followed the developmental of knowledge from easy to identify until to the calculation, which is difficult for some students to understand the concept directly. Next, let's talk about the next question, which is there any inclusion of suggested reference to facilitate consolidation and self-directed learning. As an example, the textbook has provided some activity and question that can be done by students. There are a few questions and activity that can be done by the students which can help them to improve the knowledge and skills without monitoring by teachers. As we can see, there are activity 3.1 and 3.2, formative practice and summative practice 3. Formative practice can be done by the students during the ongoing chapter, while the summative practice can be settled by the students at the end of the chapter. This step can help students to understand about the topic, and teachers also can measure students' ability about their knowledge of the chapter. This all activity can be done as a group or individually. The answer of all practice activity in the textbooks have been provided at the end of textbooks. This will help the students to facilitate consolidation and self-directed learning. So, in small conclusion, there is suggested reference to facilitate consolidation and self-directed learning for the students when they are alone, and all activity can be done by individual or group. Students can ask the teacher if they don't understand the question that have been given in the textbooks. Okay guys, we continue to the question which is how the development of cognitive skill of all levels, especially higher order thinking skill that called HOTS. First, we need to know what is higher order thinking skills. Higher order thinking skills, also known as HOTS, is thinking on a level that is higher than memorizing facts or telling something back to someone exactly the way it's told to you. Higher order thinking skills helps students use metacognition when they read. Besides that, higher order thinking skills is a good concept that popular in all education levels. HOTS include synthesizing, analyzing, reasoning, comprehending, application, and evaluation. I have prepared a picture on the left side about higher order thinking skill for you to more understand, and the right side with a picture of example question using higher order thinking skills. First is knowledge. It means students should be able to recall the information, discover and observe, do a list, locating and naming. Second is comprehension. Students can understand and summarize what has been learned, can translate, discuss and demonstrate something. Besides, they need to apply it. Students can able to use and applying the knowledge. They also can solve problem method and manipulate it. The fourth is analysis. Students should be able to identify and analyze the pattern of idea or recognizing the trends. The next is synthesis. They are able to use all concepts to create new ideas, imagining, predict, and modify and combine all of the ideas. Last is evaluation. Students need to compare the ideas, evaluate of outcomes, solve it, judging and recommend something, and can also rate the ideas. Students can try to answer the example of question in the textbooks to improve their ability about higher order thinking skills, or called as HOTS. The last question is how the concept will foster positive values and attitude. This concept can foster positive values and attitude if it has been implemented in their daily life. For example, students need to know the basic information about the temperature and pulse rate. Next, students need to know the correct part of the body to measure of the temperature. Then, students will know how to increase the body mass and take the food change that consume our body to healthy lifestyles. After students finish study this chapter, they should be able to distinguish between what is right and wrong in order to continue study of their own style. As an example, Ali already finished his study about science stream and already become health educator. He can give the knowledge to his friend about how to keep our body in healthy ways. He also can explain what are the types of food chain that his friend can consume in order to make sure their health grows in the right way. Ali can explain and teach his friend about the knowledge that he knows. Before I end this topic, I would like to share with you about several comparisons between our country, Malaysia, and neighbours country, Singapore, in the aspect of education. The first difference is syllabus of education. In our country, when students reach 16 years old, they have choice to continue study in general science that include biology, chemistry, and physics. Meanwhile, students in Singapore, they have been divided into 3 core subjects of science, which is biology, chemistry, and physics. Besides that, the difference is about the examination that has been taken out. In Malaysia, students need to sit for SPM examination when they reach Form 5 in secondary schools. Meanwhile, in Singapore, students need to take Cambridge International General Science Certificate of Secondary Education, or called as ICGSE. Okay, that's all enough part of me. I hope that all of you can understand what I have talked about scientific key concept of general science textbook Form 4. If you have any question, can ask on the group. Thank you for listening.
Here we go.